He made $700,000 last year. Software executive, 42 years old, never married, physically fit, socially competent, by any reasonable measure, a high-value man. And he sat across from me describing a situation that would have been comical if it wasn't destroying him financially and emotionally. He'd been dating a woman for 4 months. She was beautiful, charming, affectionate. Everything seemed perfect. And then gradually the requests started. Small at first. My car needs new tyres. I can't really afford it right now. He paid. 2 weeks later, my roommate's being crazy about rent. Can you help me out just this once? He helped. The next month, I hate asking, but my credit card bill is insane this month. He covered it. By month 4, she had a standing expectation that he would handle her phone bill, contribute to her rent, and fund their activities together. The requests weren't framed as requests anymore. They were presented as what a man who cared about her would naturally do. When he finally tried to establish boundaries, she cried. She told him he'd changed. She said she thought he was different from other men, that she felt used, that he clearly never cared about her if he was going to abandon her now. She deployed the full arsenal: guilt, tears, accusations, the implication that withdrawing financial support was emotional abuse. And it worked. Not because he believed it, but because he didn't want to be the villain in whatever story she was telling herself. So he kept paying, and the resentment built until he couldn't pretend anymore. That's when he called me. I'm going to tell you exactly what I told him, and I'm going to explain how men who have resources can protect those resources without becoming paranoid, without hiding who they are, without screening every woman like she's a potential thief. Because the truth is, gold diggers aren't actually that sophisticated. They reveal themselves constantly. You just have to know what you're looking at. Let me start by acknowledging something that wealthy men often won't say out loud. When you have significant financial resources, you never fully know whether someone values you or values access to what you provide. This uncertainty is permanent. It doesn't matter how long you've been together. It doesn't matter what she says. You will always wonder, somewhere in the back of your mind, whether she'd still be here if the money disappeared tomorrow. This isn't paranoia. This is rational assessment of incentive structures. The male version of this fear mirrors what women experience around sex. Women worry about being valued only for their bodies, about men who fake emotional connection to obtain physical intimacy. Men worry about being valued only for their resources, about women who fake emotional connection to obtain financial security. Both fears are legitimate. Both point to the same underlying anxiety. Am I wanted for who I am or for what I provide? Here's the first thing you need to understand. Attraction to success is completely normal. Financial stability, professional achievement, elevated lifestyle, these are attractive qualities. They should be attractive. They signal capability, discipline, future orientation. A woman who finds success appealing isn't automatically a gold digger. Most women prefer financially stable men to financially chaotic men. This preference is rational, not predatory. The question isn't whether she's attracted to your success. The question is whether that's all she's attracted to. Is she building connection with you, or is she building connection with your lifestyle? Does she care about who you are as a person, or is she performing affection to maintain access to what you have? The distinction is everything. Now here's the controversial part that most dating advice skips. If you lead with money, you will attract people motivated by money. This sounds obvious, but watch how many wealthy men violate this principle constantly. They display wealth aggressively. Expensive car, designer clothes, photos from exotic locations. Every signal they broadcast screams, "I have resources." And then they're shocked when women who respond to those signals turn out to be interested primarily in resources. You chose your bait. You caught what that bait attracts. Complaining about the results is like fishing with chicken and being upset you caught catfish instead of trout. The fish responded to what you offered. If you don't want to attract gold diggers, stop advertising yourself as a gold mine. But here's the nuance. You also can't completely hide your success. If you present yourself as average, you'll blend into the average pool. You won't stand out. You won't attract the attention of women you might actually want. The solution isn't to pretend you're broke. It's to calibrate how you signal success so that it communicates confidence without communicating desperation for validation through wealth display. Think of it as background luxury versus foreground desperation. Background luxury is the nice watch you wear because you like it. not because you want others to notice it. It's the well-maintained car that signals you have your life together without screaming, "Look at me." It's the quality of your conversation, the competence you demonstrate, the calm ownership of your accomplishments without the need to perform them. Background luxury says, "This is my normal," without saying, "Please be impressed." Foreground desperation is name-dropping the price of everything, steering every conversation toward your income or possessions, making sure everyone knows what you drive, where you vacation, what you can afford. Foreground desperation comes from insecurity. It says, "I need you to validate my worth through admiring my wealth," and it attracts exactly the people who will provide that validation in exchange for access to the wealth itself. Here's the rule that will save you enormous trouble if you internalize it completely. Never separate yourself from your resources. Financial benefits she experiences should only happen in your presence, as part of shared experiences, connected directly to spending time with you. This is the firewall that prevents gold-digging dynamics from establishing themselves. What does this look like in practice? You take her on a nice vacation, that's fine. You're experiencing it together. You're sharing the benefit. It's part of building connection. But paying her rent so she can afford to exist without you. That's separating your resources from your presence. Sending her money for bills? Separated. Solving her financial problems directly? Separated. Once money flows independently of your presence, you've created a transaction. She receives financial benefit without needing to provide anything except continued access to your wallet. I've watched men violate this principle in ways that would be funny if they weren't so financially destructive. Paying for her apartment while she lives separately from him. Buying her a car she drives without him. Covering her debts that have nothing to do with their relationship. Funding her lifestyle while receiving minimal reciprocity in return. And then they're confused when she treats him like an ATM rather than a partner. The boundary is simple. If she wants access to your lifestyle, she gets it by being in your life. You go to nice restaurants together. You travel together. You experience upgraded circumstances as a couple. But her independent financial situation remains her responsibility. Her rent, her car, her debts, her phone bill, these are not your obligations unless she's your wife and you've made explicit commitments about shared finances. Now let me explain how gold diggers reveal themselves, because this is where most men get confused. They think gold diggers are mastermind manipulators who hide their intentions perfectly. They're not. They're usually obvious. You just have to pay attention to the pattern instead of getting distracted by the performance. The pattern is escalation. It starts small. A comment about something she can't afford. A joke about wishing she could do something expensive. A mention of a financial struggle presented casually without direct request. She's testing. Will you offer to solve it? Many men, wanting to be generous, wanting to be the provider, jump in immediately. Don't worry about it, I'll cover that. And now she knows your boundaries are soft. Resources flow when she expresses need. The requests become more direct. I'm really stressed about this bill. I don't know how I'm going to afford that. This situation is killing me. Still not asking directly, but the implication is clear. She wants you to solve it. And if you've already established a pattern of solving, you feel pressure to continue. To stop now would be to reject her, to prove you were only generous when it was convenient. Eventually, if you're still complying, the requests drop all pretense. She asks for money directly. She expects contributions to her independent finances. She positions your resources as partially hers by virtue of the relationship existing. And if you balk, if you try to establish boundaries at this late stage, that's when the emotional manipulation intensifies. This is the clearest diagnostic. How does she respond when you set a financial boundary? A woman who genuinely cares about you will understand. She might be disappointed, but she'll accept it. She'll respect that you have limits. She won't try to guilt or shame you into changing your position. But a gold digger responds differently. She makes you the villain. You're cheap. You're selfish. You don't really care about her. If you cared, you'd help. Other men would help. You're failing as a man by not providing what she needs. Watch for this. The moment you set a boundary and she responds with attacks on your character, with attempts to make you feel inadequate for having limits, you've identified the dynamic. She's not building a relationship with you. She's extracting resources. And extraction escalates as long as you permit it. Let me be extremely direct about sex and money, because this is where a lot of confusion lives. Physical intimacy does not create financial obligation. I don't care what she implies. I don't care what social narratives suggest. You're not required to financially support a woman because you're sleeping together. Sex is not a service she provides in exchange for payment. If she operates from that framework, if she expects financial compensation for physical intimacy, she's not your girlfriend. She's running a different kind of business entirely. I've heard men describe feeling trapped by this. They started sleeping with someone, and suddenly financial expectations appeared. I thought we had something real, but now you won't help me. The framing makes him the bad guy for not converting sex into financial support. But the framing is manipulative. She's trying to leverage physical intimacy into economic entitlement. Don't accept the premise. Physical and financial are separate domains unless you've made explicit commitments that link them, like marriage. Here's the scenario that separates gold diggers from genuine partners. You establish a boundary. You say no to a financial request. A woman who values you will accept this and continue building the relationship. She might adjust her expectations, but she stays because the relationship itself matters to her. A gold digger will escalate pressure. She'll use guilt, tears, anger, ultimatums. And if none of that works, if you hold your boundary, she'll leave. She'll find some justification for why the relationship no longer works, but the real reason is transparent. You stopped being a resource. And here's what I want you to understand. If she leaves because you set financial boundaries, you won't have lost anything valuable. You filtered out someone who was never there for you in the first place. The trash took itself out. Celebrate this outcome. You avoided years of financial extraction. You escaped a dynamic that would have drained your resources and given you nothing genuine in return. Her departure is data, not tragedy. Let me talk about the early stages because prevention is easier than correction. When you're first getting to know someone, watch how she relates to money in general, not just your money, all money. Does she constantly make comments about expensive things she wants? Does she position herself as someone who deserves luxury? Does she frame financial struggle as something men should solve for her? These are orientation signals. She's showing you how she conceptualizes the relationship between resources and relationships. Also watch how she treats people who serve her. Waiters, Uber drivers, retail workers. Does she speak to them with basic respect, or does she act entitled? The way she treats people she considers beneath her socially tells you how she'll eventually treat you once the performance phase ends. Entitlement isn't selective, it's a worldview, and a woman who's entitled towards service workers will be entitled toward you once she feels secure enough to drop the act. Pay attention to what she values in conversation. Does she ask about your work because she's curious about what you do, or because she's calculating what you earn? Does she want to understand your interests and goals, or does she want to assess your resource level? You can usually tell by the questions. Genuine curiosity sounds different from financial reconnaissance. One explores you as a person, the other catalogues you as an asset. Here's a test that works remarkably well. Suggest inexpensive dates, coffee, a walk in the park, cooking at home, see how she responds. A woman interested in you will be happy to spend time together regardless of cost. A woman interested in your money will be visibly disappointed by low investment suggestions. She'll try to upgrade the plans. She'll hint that she expected something nicer. She'll make comments about preferring fancier venues. Her disappointment reveals what she's actually pursuing. Now let me address the men who use money as their primary attraction strategy, because you're creating your own problem. If you haven't developed emotional intelligence, conversational skill, genuine confidence, humour, presence, if you're relying entirely on wealth display to attract women, you're fishing with the wrong bait. You're selecting for women who prioritise money because that's the only signal you're broadcasting. Stop outsourcing your attractiveness to your bank account. Develop yourself as a complete person. Be interesting, be funny, be engaged with the world, have perspectives and knowledge and skills that make you compelling, independent of your income. When you're genuinely attractive as a person, wealth becomes an enhancement rather than the entire foundation. And when wealth is enhancement rather than foundation, you attract women who are interested in the whole package, not just the financial component. This doesn't mean hiding your success. It means treating success as your normal rather than as a performance. Truly confident, wealthy men don't brag. They don't need to. Their success is so integrated into their identity that displaying it would feel like bragging about breathing. It's just reality. They're comfortable at their level. They belong there. And that comfort communicates more powerfully than any expensive watch or luxury car. Here's the frame you want to project. This is my life. This is my standard. If you join me, you'll experience it alongside me. But it's mine. It was here before you. It will be here after you. Your presence doesn't entitle you to independent access. You're welcome in my world, but you don't get to extract from it. This frame prevents gold-digging dynamics from establishing themselves because it defines the relationship clearly. She's a participant in your life, not a beneficiary of your resources. The benefits she experiences come from being with you, not from you transferring wealth to her. The distinction is foundational. I want to address something that men often struggle with: the guilt of having resources while she doesn't. You see her struggling. You could easily solve her problems. It feels selfish not to help when helping is so easy for you. This guilt is understandable, but it's also dangerous, because solving her problems doesn't create genuine relationship. It creates dependency and entitlement. If you want to help someone, help them in ways that build their capability rather than creating reliance on you. Offer advice, make connections, provide opportunities. But don't make yourself the solution to their financial chaos. That turns you into a crutch. And crutches are for people who can't walk on their own. Do you want a partner who can't function without your constant support? The woman who genuinely values you will not want to be your dependent. She'll have pride. She'll want to contribute. She'll feel uncomfortable taking more than she gives. She might accept your generosity in the context of shared experiences, but she won't position herself as your financial responsibility. Her self-respect won't allow it. If she's comfortable extracting from you indefinitely, without reciprocity or appreciation, her self-respect is already compromised. That's information. Let me describe what a healthy dynamic looks like for comparison. You're successful. She knows it. She appreciates the lifestyle you've built. When you're together, you choose activities and experiences that reflect your standard of living. Nice restaurants, good wine, quality accommodations. She experiences the benefits of your success as part of experiencing life with you. But she maintains her own financial independence. She covers her own rent. She manages her own bills. She doesn't expect you to solve her economic problems. She contributes where she can, even if her contributions are smaller than yours proportionally. And she expresses genuine gratitude for what you provide, not entitled expectation that you should provide more. This dynamic works because it's mutual even when it's not equal. Both parties are contributing what they can. Both are invested in the relationship for reasons beyond financial. The imbalance in resources doesn't create an imbalance in respect or power, because she's not trying to leverage the relationship into economic extraction. Compare that to the gold digger dynamic. She learns what you earn and immediately recalibrates her expectations. Suddenly she can't afford things she could afford before. Suddenly her problems require solutions that cost exactly what you can afford to provide. Suddenly the relationship feels like a negotiation where she's constantly testing how much she can extract. Every interaction carries an undercurrent of financial positioning. You're not building connection. You're managing her resource acquisition strategy. Here's a framework I give to men who want to evaluate whether they're dealing with genuine interest or gold digging. Ask yourself these questions. Would she still be here if I lost my money tomorrow? Not just claim she would be, actually be here. If you can't confidently answer yes, you have information. Does she invest in me the way I invest in her? Not dollar for dollar, but proportionally. Is she giving time, effort, emotional support in ways that cost her something? Or is the investment one-directional? Does she show genuine interest in who I am apart from what I have? Does she ask about my thoughts, my history, my goals in ways that aren't connected to assessing resources? Or is every question ultimately about what I can provide? Has the relationship deepened over time, or has it plateaued at superficial while financial expectations increased? Real connection develops. Performative connection flatlines. How does she respond to boundaries? With understanding or with manipulation? This might be the clearest signal of all. If these questions produce uncomfortable answers, you're probably dealing with someone who's more interested in your resources than in you. What you do with that information is your choice, but at least you'll be making an informed choice rather than stumbling blindly into exploitation. Let me close with this. Wealth is not a curse. Having resources is not a problem. The problem is poor boundary management. The problem is using money as a substitute for genuine attractiveness. The problem is fear of being alone that makes you tolerate extraction rather than enforcing standards. The problem is guilt that makes you feel obligated to solve every problem for anyone who enters your life. Gold diggers exist. They're real, but they're also avoidable. They reveal themselves through patterns of escalating requests, through responses to boundaries, through entitled expectations disconnected from contribution. You don't need sophisticated screening processes, you just need to pay attention to what's already visible and believe what you're seeing. The men who get exploited aren't usually the ones who couldn't see it coming. They're the ones who saw it coming and talked themselves out of believing their own observations. They wanted to believe the performance was genuine. They wanted to trust that she was different. They ignored escalating red flags because acknowledging them would require difficult action. Don't be that man. When someone shows you who they are through their behavior, believe them. When requests escalate, when boundaries are tested, when financial expectations replace emotional connection, act on that information. Walk away early rather than staying until the extraction has done real damage. You worked hard for your resources. You sacrificed for your success. You're not obligated to hand it over to anyone who performs affection convincingly. Find someone who values you for who you are, who would build with you regardless of what you have, who treats your success as enhancement to genuine connection, rather than as the entire point. Those women exist. They're not even rare. But you won't find them if you're broadcasting yourself as a resource to be harvested rather than as a person to be known. Protect yourself. Set boundaries. Enforce standards. Believe behavior over words. And don't confuse generosity with obligation. You can be generous within healthy relationships without becoming an ATM for people who view you as a resource rather than a person. The difference is everything. I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you dealt with gold diggers? How did you spot them? What were the warning signs you ignored or caught early? What boundaries worked? The more specific you are, the more everyone learns. Because this is a pattern men with resources face constantly. Your experience might be exactly what another man needs to protect himself from a situation he's walking into blind.